that is going to include the ovaries. Yeah. Any of you know anybody with an ovarian cyst? Very, very painful. Yeah, I had a girl that worked for me one time in the courtesy store. Oh man, one day she was doubled up. Her name was Jeannie. I said, "What's the matter with you, Jeannie?" "I've got to go to I've got an ovarian cyst. It's just killing me." And I don't remember, that's been several years ago. She was a young woman, about some of your ages at that time. And I don't remember, in fact, she had 2 children. But she really had some pain with that, for an ovarian cyst. I don't remember, I haven't seen Jeannie in a long time, because I'm not up there that much, and don't own that anymore like I did, wasn't there on a daily basis. But anyway, they'll include the ovaries, the uterine tubes. The uterine tubes are called fallopian tubes, they're just tubes, and that's the fallopian. The uterus, obviously the uterus, what we talked about in 24 in our class up there, the endometrium, the myometrium, and all that business. Okay, and the uterus, then we vagina, and then the vulva. That is the female external reproductive anatomy. That's just a collective term for male and female. All right. So that would basically be the parts. Of course, the mammary glands figure into this too, because the mammary glands for the milk production for the baby. So that figures into this business also in the female game plan. All right, now that is just kind of showing a section. There is just kind of giving you a little bit of an idea from one view. There's the ovary over there, the ovary, the tube. There's an ampulla. There's also the ampulla of the fallopian tube is called, it's kind of a swollen end. There's also finger-like projections called fimbriae, and there's the opening called the infundibulum, which we'll talk about a little bit later on, in the fallopian tube. And I think more people think about, in the fallopian, that's not a real good diagram the way that one is set up there at all. There's a better diagram. I've got several better ones than that that show that part. That's one, for example. There's the fimbriae of the fallopian, of the uterine tube. This is the ampulla right here. Down here's the isthmus, it's called, isthmus of it. Right here, it comes out here like so, it kind of swells out. And the ampulla part, as I mentioned, there you see the word ampulla over here, right into there. And there you see the word isthmus, I-S-T-H-M-U-S. Here's the body of the uterus here. And of course, the endometrium would be the darker area. The endometrium would be the darker area, and the myometrium would be back here, and so forth. Here's the ovary, etc. It's real interesting too. Ovarian. I remember one time when I was taking a psychology course in college. The old professor would always take us close to Mahia. Any of you ever heard of a little town called Mahia? Mahia State Home is up there. And there was one female in the Mahia State Home that had a pregnancy. She nearly died. There was a pregnancy. It was an ectopic pregnancy. Most ectopic pregnancies, though, are tubal, and they're still not good at all. But this, see, there's a little bit of when ovulation occurs, there's a little bit of time frame where that secondary oocyte is out in the abdominal pelvic cavity, and fertilization occurs in the abdominal pelvic cavity, and the fertilized egg then attached to an organ in the body. One of those organs, I forget which one now, it's been too long. That woman there died. But most ectopic means out of place. And you've all heard of ectopic pregnancies, haven't you? The word ectopic simply means out of place. It's where it's not supposed to be. And so that just kind of gives you a general view of the setup of the female reproductive stuff, and just kind of a general view right there. And then ovaries and the duct systems of the females are mostly located within the pelvic cavity. They're collectively known as internal genitalia. You probably will never hear that term again. That's a collective term for the stuff inside. Most of the female stuff is inside. you know, the ovary, the uterus, vagina, that sort of, that business there. And it says collectively, while external sex organs are referred to as the external genitalia. And so this is kind of a little bit of a note on some terminology that you might not be that familiar with. Description of the structures: the ovaries, the female gonads. They're located in the upper pelvic cavity on either side of the uterus. Okay, we're going to go over the menstrual cycle here too a little bit later, and we'll show you that. We'll do that and show you the hormones involved in that, how that works from a hormonal standpoint, and find you get PMS every now and then. All right, y'all don't do that though, do you? No. Okay. All right. Now, ovaries produce. What do the ovaries do? The ovaries produce the ova. They discharge the ova. That's ovulation. Most people know what that is. Ovulation. And the ovaries secrete the female hormones, estrogens and progesterone. So they have, and there's several estrogens, and we'll talk about the one that's most common, estradiol, and the hormone progesterone. So they do that, and so that's what the ovaries do. The primary estrogens are estradiol, estrone, and estriol. The most abundant is estradiol. That's the one that's the most abundant. And be sure you understand that estrogen is not one hormone. Estrogen is the word estrogen, we say the estrogen hormones with an S on it, not the estrogen hormone. Estrogen is a group of hormones, and it plays a very important role in the female reproductive cycle, an extremely important role, the estrogens do. All right, the most abundant of these is that one right there. All right, so there's the hormone situation. And ovaries are maintained in position by a series of ligaments. And those ligaments, there's several: broad ligament, suspension ligament, ovarian ligament. Through the years, I've heard people say, you know, what if a woman, you know, we talk about, how many of you have heard of anteflexion and retroflexion of the uterus? You ever heard those terms? Anteflexion, you can't get, if a person wants to get pregnant and the uterus is tilted, if it's a forward tilting, it's an anteflexion. If it's a backward tilting, it's a retroflexion. And I heard people would argue one time, well, you know, she ran track all the time, and she was always bouncing around like that, always running, jumping, etc. And so, would that mess up the ligaments? Well, there's never been any. They're anchored in there. The ligaments are in there. All that stuff is anchored in there to stay put. Now, what causes that is just an abnormal, just a little quirk that might cause that. But anyway, the ovaries are maintained in position by a group of all these ligaments. A series such as broad, suspensory, ovarian. There is an ovary right there. There is the second. Okay, there is the there's fluid. There's the antrum. There's fluid in there. There's the zona. Okay, now right in through here. Here's ovulation. See, look at this. See, the secondary oocyte. That's what's released during ovulation. And so here is the quote, the Graafian follicle. Graafian means, quote, if you want to use the term, ripe. The Graafian follicle. There's the corona radiata, the zona pellucida, and there's you can see the nucleus there, and that's because it's unfertilized. So it's showing a picture where you see the secondary oocyte. You can see a nucleus, and there's the oocyte there's the corona radiata. You can see it right there. There's ovulation. Now here's an early, this actually, after ovulation occurs, this is called the corpus hemorrhaginum. And the hemorrhagic, kind of a bloody spot, a little blood clot. That goes away, and it becomes then kind of a yellow body, corpus luteum. The corpus luteum, after its function is over with, it's a white area called the corpus albicans. There you see the word albicans. Now this is the area right here. This one right here, the corpus luteum, is what produces the hormone progesterone. And progesterone is very important from the standpoint of maintaining the endometrium. And what keeps it going very early on, the human chorionic gonadotrophin. Pregnancy occurs, HCG keeps that corpus luteum, keeps its integrity up, and it keeps producing the hormone progesterone to maintain the endometrium, maintain the implanted